You already have it. Let that truth settle within you, not as hope, not as wishful thinking, but as a quiet recognition. The moment you accepted the idea that your desire was possible, something profound occurred. Consciousness moved first. The outer world, which only reflects inner conviction, is now catching up. What you call your big win is not approaching from the future, it is assembling itself in the present, responding to an assumption you have already claimed. There is a subtle but powerful difference between wanting and knowing. Wanting keeps the mind leaning forward, always reaching, always waiting. Knowing rests. Knowing is calm. Knowing does not ask when or how. And it is from this state of inner certainty that results are born. When you shift it into that knowing, even briefly, you set forces in motion that cannot reverse themselves. The pattern has been impressed. The echo must follow. Right now, even if your senses argue otherwise, conditions are reorganizing. Conversations are happening you are not aware of. Decisions are being made without your involvement. Paths are crossing that will soon intersect with yours. None of this requires your effort or anxiety. The world is simply obeying the inner command you issued when you accepted your desire as done. The visible delay is not resistance, it is the interval required for alignment. Your role is not to monitor progress, but to remain faithful to the state you have entered. Each time doubt arises and you gently return to the feeling of having already received, you reinforce the pattern. You are not creating again, you are sustaining. This faithfulness is not strenuous. It is a relaxed loyalty to the unseen reality you know to be true. And what is sustained in consciousness must, without exception, take form. Notice how life begins to feel different before anything looks different. That is the sign. Ease replaces urgency. Expectancy replaces effort. You may even feel less interested in searching for proof because the inner satisfaction has already arrived. This is not indifference, it is fulfillment. And fulfillment is the birthplace of manifestation. Your big win is not coming to convince you, it is coming because you no longer need convincing. The moment you stopped waiting for permission from the outer world, you gave it permission to rearrange itself. What is unfolding now is the natural consequence of that shift. Stay where you are inwardly. Do not retreat into old habits of questioning or measuring time. You already have it. And because you have it in consciousness, it must appear in experience. What is forming now will soon be undeniable, not because you forced it, but because you allowed yourself to accept it as yours long before it arrived. Your desire is already fulfilled in consciousness, even if the evidence has not yet appeared. This is not a statement of blind optimism, but a description of how creation actually unfolds. Everything that ever becomes visible first exists as an inner conviction, a settled assumption accepted by the mind. Before form, there is awareness. Before results, there is belief. The outer world does not initiate events, it responds to them. What you are experiencing now is not the beginning of your desire, but the interval between its acceptance within and its expression without. When consciousness accepts something as true, it no longer negotiates with circumstances. It does not need reassurance or repeated confirmation, it simply knows. This knowing is subtle, quiet, and deeply stable. You may not feel excited every moment, and that is a good sign. Excitement belongs to anticipation, but fulfillment belongs to calm certainty. The moment you assumed your desire as already accomplished inwardly, You shifted from wanting to being. From that shift, everything else must follow. The absence of visible evidence does not mean nothing is happening. It means the process is still internal to the world of causes. Just as a seed germinates unseen beneath the soil, your assumption is taking root beyond the reach of your senses. No one digs up a seed each day to check its progress. Interference delays growth, but because it needs undisturbed faith to complete its work. In the same way, your role is not to watch anxiously, but to remain loyal to what you already know is true. Consciousness is the only reality that initiates change. The outer world is secondary, always catching up, always rearranging itself to match the inner state you consistently occupy. When you dwell in the feeling of already having received, you are no longer sending out a request, you are issuing a command. Life responds to certainty, not desperation. It mirrors back to you what you quietly accept, not what you loudly demand. You may notice that as this inner fulfillment stabilizes, your need to do something about your desire diminishes. This is not passivity, it is alignment. Action taken from fulfillment is inspired and precise, while action taken from lack is frantic and exhausting. When consciousness is satisfied, the correct opportunities, conversations, and impulses arise naturally, without force or strain. Time is not a barrier in this process. It is simply the medium through which the unseen becomes seen. What feels like delay is actually the coordination of countless details, all moving into position to reflect your assumption accurately. Nothing is random and nothing is wasted. Every moment is contributing to the final expression. Remain faithful to the inner fact. Let your attention return again and again to the knowing that it is already done. The world has no choice but to follow where consciousness leads. What has been accepted inwardly must appear outwardly, because reality is always obedient to the state you occupy. What you're witnessing now is the rearrangement of circumstances responding to your inner acceptance. Often we look at the world and assume that change must first occur outside of us, that the conditions must shift before our desires can manifest. Yet the truth is the opposite. It is the inner state that precedes the outer reality. Every event, every meeting, every opportunity is moving in response to what has already been accepted within. When you accept something as true inwardly, you set in motion an unseen orchestration. The world begins to adjust quietly, subtly, to bring the inner reality into form. This rearrangement is rarely dramatic at first. You may notice small coincidences, minor adjustments, or unexpected ease in areas that previously felt resistant. These are not random. They are the proof that consciousness has already acted. Every circumstance is already acted. Every circumstance is yielding to your inner assumption, bending and shifting to align with the state of being you have chosen to inhabit. While the mind often looks for immediate, tangible results, the unseen is infinitely patient. It knows the exact pattern, timing, and sequence necessary to produce the effect in the external world. Acceptance is the key that unlocks this process. To accept is to no longer struggle with reality, to no longer question how or when your desire will appear. It is a state of quiet conviction that does not demand proof. This does not mean you ignore life or remain inactive. It means you act from a position of alignment rather than desperation. Actions inspired by inner acceptance carry the weight of inevitability. They are steps taken not to force reality, but to flow in harmony with the current that has already begun. As this inner acceptance strengthens, you will notice that circumstances start to conform in ways that feel almost miraculous. Problems that seemed immovable begin to resolve naturally. People respond in unexpected kindness. Opportunities appear precisely when they are needed, and obstacles seem to vanish without effort. These are not coincidences. They are the direct manifestation of the inner reality being expressed outwardly. The universe, in its own way, is simply reflecting back to you the state of consciousness you hold. Patience is required, yet it is not a passive waiting. It is an active maintaining of faith in the unseen. Every moment you remain firm in your acceptance, you reinforce the pattern that circumstances are following. Even delays, setbacks, or appearances of stagnation are part of the rearrangement. They serve to perfect the alignment, ensuring that when your desire manifests, it does so fully and completely. Understand that the outer world is not hostile or indifferent. It is obedient to your inner state. What you are witnessing now, no matter how subtle or hidden it may seem, is the proof that reality has already responded. The evidence is in motion, invisible to the senses at first, yet inevitable. When consciousness has accepted, circumstances cannot resist. They must rearrange, and in time the invisible becomes visible. Your task is simple. Remain faithful to your inner acceptance. Do not be distracted by appearances. Trust that every shifting circumstance, every subtle alignment, is part of the exact unfolding needed to bring your desire into full expression. What you see now is the world moving in response to what you already know is true, quietly forming the reality you have assumed. The moment you stopped forcing and started assuming, movement began. So often we believe that effort, struggle, and constant action are the keys to bringing our desires into reality. We push, we strive, and we try to convince the world to align with our will, thinking that the harder we act, the faster results will appear. Yet this approach often leads only to exhaustion, frustration, and delay. True change begins not with force, but with assumption. The instant you accept the end result as already yours, the invisible gears of life begin to turn in your favor. Movement, which may have seemed impossible under strain, now flows naturally. Assuming is an act of consciousness. It is not pretending or wishful thinking. It is the quiet, unwavering recognition that what you desire already exists in the unseen. When you assume, you are no longer separated from the outcome. You no longer chase it from a place of lack. Instead, you occupy the state of having it. This shift transforms your entire being. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to align effortlessly with the reality you have assumed. The universe, which always responds to the state of consciousness, begins to mirror back the assumption. Movement, which once seemed delayed or blocked, now unfolds as a natural consequence of your inner alignment. Forcing, by contrast, keeps the mind in resistance. It implies that the desired reality is absent and must be wrestled into being. This state creates tension, doubt, and confusion, which obscure the clarity required for manifestation. Life cannot flow when the mind is in conflict. But the moment you stop forcing, when you let go of trying to push reality into submission, you create a space for alignment to occur. This is the point at which the invisible begins to work on your behalf, rearranging circumstances, inspiring actions, and bringing together the elements necessary for your desire to appear. Movement begins quietly at first. You may notice subtle shifts in thought, unexpected opportunities, or people appearing at the right time. These are the signs that the inner assumption has taken root and is influencing the external world. What seemed stagnant or delayed starts to show progress, often in ways that feel effortless or even miraculous. This is because the assumption has bypassed resistance, working directly through the channels of consciousness that shape reality. The beauty of assuming is that it requires no struggle, no evidence, and no justification. All that is needed is faith in the inner knowing that your desire is already fulfilled. Each moment spent in this state reinforces the pattern of movement. Each time you return to the feeling of having already received, you strengthen the invisible current that carries your desire into form. Force is replaced by flow, effort by ease, and striving by inspired action. The moment you stopped forcing and started assuming is the moment the universe began to move in harmony with you. It is the pivot from resistance to alignment, from waiting to receiving, from seeking to knowing. What you assumed inwardly must, without exception, manifest outwardly. Movement has begun, not because of struggle, but because of the quiet, powerful act of assumption. Faithfulness to the inner knowing sustains the outcome until it becomes visible. Often we assume that once we have imagined or accepted something as ours, the work is done and the manifestation will appear immediately. Yet the journey from the invisible to the visible requires loyalty, a steadfast devotion to the reality already impressed upon consciousness. It is not enough to glimpse the desire and feel a fleeting sense of certainty. True manifestation demands that you remain unwavering in your inner knowing, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This faithfulness is what bridges the gap between assumption and evidence, between what is unseen and what is experienced. Inner knowing is the seed and faithfulness is the soil that nourishes it. When you first accept the end as yours, the desire exists fully in the unseen, but it has not yet been reflected outwardly. The world responds to consciousness, and until the outer world aligns with the inner state, the knowing must be held without compromise. Each doubt, hesitation, or momentary lapse in faith slows the process, for reality mirrors the state of your awareness. Conversely, every act of loyalty to your inner certainty strengthens the pattern and accelerates its expression. Faithfulness is not rigid or forced. It is a relaxed, confident attention to the truth of what has been assumed. It is the calm awareness that your desire is complete in the unseen, regardless of the appearances in the visible world. You do not need to argue with reality, negotiate with circumstances, or check daily for proof. The role of faithfulness is not to manufacture the outcome externally, but to maintain the inner state until the world can no longer resist reflecting it. It is the quiet insistence that what is already yours inwardly must eventually appear outwardly. Life may challenge your faithfulness with delays, setbacks, or contradictions, but these are not signs of failure. They are part of the natural process of alignment. Every circumstance, every interaction, every subtle shift is orchestrating itself to accommodate the inner reality. Faithfulness ensures that you do not drift into doubt or impatience during this period. It is the anchor that holds the state steady while the unseen patterns work to manifest the desired outcome perfectly. The essence of this faithfulness is consistency. Each moment that you return to the inner knowing reinforces the invisible current carrying your desire into form. You are not constantly reimagining or recreating it. You are simply sustaining it, holding it as an undeniable fact within yourself. This unwavering attention is what compels reality to respond. It is the magnetic force that draws circumstances, people, and opportunities into alignment with the assumption you hold. The outer world must obey the inner state. The manifestation cannot fail because it has already been fulfilled in consciousness. Faithfulness does not rush the process, nor does it rely on external validation. It simply maintains the truth of the inner knowing until all conditions are perfectly arranged to reflect it. By remaining loyal to the unseen, you ensure that when the moment of manifestation arrives, it is complete, undeniable, and fully aligned with the reality you have already assumed. Delay is not absence, it is alignment unfolding in perfect order. Too often, we mistake the lack of immediate evidence for failure, for resistance, or for the impossibility of our desires. We look at circumstances that have not yet changed and assume that nothing is happening. Yet the truth is that what is delayed is not denied. The universe does not work in haste or disorder. It is orchestrating every detail to reflect the inner reality you have assumed. Every moment that passes without visible results is a moment in which alignment is quietly arranging itself, unseen, but perfectly in motion. The outer world is a mirror of consciousness, and it requires time to reflect the exact pattern impressed within. Each circumstance, each event, each interaction must be coordinated to match the inner assumption. This coordination takes place naturally, according to perfect order, and it often appears as delay to the untrained eye. Yet delay is a sign that the unseen forces are at work, moving elements into position so that when your desire manifests, it does so fully, harmoniously, and without contradiction. Impatience cannot accelerate this process, and doubt only obstructs it. Understanding that delay is alignment allows you to remain centered, calm, and confident, while the invisible completes its work. While waiting, it is essential to maintain the state of the fulfilled desire inwardly. Delay is not the absence of manifestation, it is the space in which your inner knowing is being strengthened and the outer world is being prepared. Every unseen adjustment, every subtle movement in circumstances is part of the precise unfolding required. Often, what seems like a lack of progress is simply a reordering of conditions that will soon appear as rapid and undeniable results. The invisible must precede the visible, and this period of alignment is necessary for the manifestation to arrive in its full, perfect form. It is important to recognize that the universe is always responding to the state you occupy. Your inner acceptance, faithfulness, and calm assurance are what direct this alignment. Delay tests the strength of your belief, but it also reinforces the importance of remaining loyal to the unseen reality. By trusting that the process is occurring according to perfect order, you prevent impatience, frustration, and doubt from disrupting the flow. The outer world cannot manifest until the inner pattern is fully stabilized. Delay is simply the natural timing required for this stabilization to complete. Every delay has its reason, even if it is invisible. It is part of the orchestration that ensures your desire will appear exactly as intended, at the perfect moment, and in the optimal conditions. The universe does not act randomly or incompletely. What is held firmly in consciousness must manifest, and the delay is the evidence of unseen forces meticulously arranging themselves to fulfill the assumption you hold. Understanding this truth allows you to rest in confidence. knowing that delay is not absence and waiting is not failure. It is a period of alignment, a quiet preparation in which everything is being set into motion so that the manifestation will arrive in perfect order. The world is responding invisibly, and when the time is right, what you have assumed will appear unmistakably, fully, and harmoniously, reflecting the reality you have already embraced within. Your persistence in the unseen is giving form to what is already yours. Many people look at life and judge reality by what is visible. They see the absence of results and assume that nothing is happening. Yet the truth is that everything begins in the unseen. What you desire already exists in consciousness, and your task is not to create it from scratch, but to remain persistent in the assumption that it is already yours. Every moment you hold the feeling, every moment you dwell in the knowing, is shaping the invisible into form, compelling reality to mirror the state you occupy. Persistence in the unseen requires patience and faith. It is not an anxious clinging to desire, nor is it constant questioning or second guessing. It is the calm, unwavering attention to the inner reality you have accepted as true. The more you dwell in that state, the stronger the signal you send to life. Consciousness does not discriminate between what you imagine fleetingly and what you assume consistently. Does it seem? By persisting, you impress the pattern so deeply that the world has no choice but to respond. Your unseen devotion is the architect of manifestation, silently assembling all the elements necessary for your desire to appear. The unseen may feel intangible, and because it cannot be measured by the senses, many give up too soon. They look for immediate proof and abandon the inner knowing when evidence does not appear on the outside. Yet every doubt or wavering thought interrupts the process, slowing the natural unfolding. Persistence, on the other hand, strengthens it. It is the force that maintains the alignment between your inner state and the eventual outer reality. Each moment of unwavering faith, each return to the assumption of fulfillment, solidifies the form that is quietly taking shape. Consider that the physical world is simply the effect, and consciousness is the cause. Your persistence in the unseen is like holding the blueprint in place until construction is complete. You do not need to rush, control, or manipulate circumstances externally. You simply maintain the state of having, of already possessing what you desire. Life, in its perfect intelligence, follows the lead of consciousness. What you sustain inwardly cannot remain invisible indefinitely. It must take shape in the external world. This persistence is not effortful. It is not about forcing or trying harder. It is a relaxed, yet firm loyalty to what is true in your inner experience. Each day you return to this inner knowing, you reinforce the invisible current, giving it momentum. The world rearranges itself accordingly, orchestrating people, events, and opportunities to align perfectly with the reality you have assumed. Delays are not denials, they are part of the careful formation process that ensures the manifestation is complete, precise, and lasting. Persistence in the unseen is the bridge between imagination and reality. What you already hold within must eventually appear outside. By remaining faithful, you ensure that the form that emerges is not partial or distorted, but fully reflects the inner certainty you have cultivated. Your unseen persistence is the silent, powerful agent that turns thought into reality, feeling into experience, and assumption into undeniable fact. The more consistent you are, the faster and more beautifully the invisible takes shape. bringing into manifestation exactly what is already yours. In conclusion, everything we have discussed points to one undeniable truth. Your big win is not somewhere in the distant future, it is already forming in the unseen. The desires you hold, the goals you cherish, and the victories you long for are already present in consciousness. Every moment you remain faithful to your inner knowing. Every time you stop forcing and simply assume. Every delay you encounter, and every act of persistence in the unseen is bringing that reality into perfect alignment. Life responds to the state you occupy, and when you trust, allow, and remain loyal to the feeling of fulfillment, the outer world has no choice but to mirror what is already true within you. Your role is not to chase, to struggle, or to doubt, but to stay centered in the knowledge that your desires are already yours. What is forming in the unseen is moving toward you in perfect order, and the moment of manifestation is inevitable. The world is responding quietly and perfectly to the reality you have assumed. Stay faithful, remain persistent, and trust that what you already hold inwardly will soon appear outwardly in full, undeniable form. Thank you. There comes a moment in every life when the invisible begins to rearrange itself for your favor. A moment when destiny starts moving, not loudly, not with chaos, but quietly, like the first light before sunrise. You may not see drastic change yet. You may still wake up in the same room, walk through the same challenges, face the same battles. But something has shifted. The energy has turned. The big win you have prayed for, believed for, prepared for is on its way. Your life does not change when the world changes. It changes when you do. When your inner assumptions shift, the world must follow. The victory does not come from outside forces deciding to be kind to you. It comes from the conviction within you rising like a giant and declaring, "My success is inevitable." When you claim something in your heart, the universe must deliver it into your hand. There is a law that governs all creation. What you assume as real becomes real. The moment you accepted that you are worthy of more, the moment you stop settling for less than what you desire, the moment you refuse to repeat the same old narrative, that's when the shift began. That's when the wind started moving toward you. Right now, while you're listening to these words, doors are unlocking that you cannot yet see. People are talking about your name in rooms you haven't entered. Opportunities that once seemed impossible are being aligned with your path. Everything is synchronizing for your good, orchestrated with precision beyond human understanding. You may have been in a long season of waiting, waiting for the healing, waiting for the breakthrough, waiting for the resources, waiting for the yes that changes everything. And perhaps this waiting made you doubt whether anything was happening at all. But the seed grows before the plant is visible. The shift happens before the blessing arrives. The answer forms before it reaches your hands. Do not judge your future by what your physical eyes see at the moment. The physical is always the last to show what has already been completed spiritually. There is a powerful truth you must hold. You are not chasing your big win, it is moving toward you. Life responds to who you believe yourself to be. If you believe you are chosen, favored, destined, life has no choice but to reflect that belief. The moment you accept peace, chaos loses power. The moment you accept abundance, lack collapses. The moment you accept success, failure becomes irrelevant. You do not need to fight for what is already yours. You only need to assume it and feel it fulfilled. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the victory already here. Imagine the message you will receive, the call that will change your path, the celebration of a new chapter. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the joy that comes when everything finally works out. When you feel the end as though it has already happened, the end must show itself. Your imagination is not daydreaming, it is the blueprint of your destiny. It is the place where things are created before they appear. Every great transformation begins in that inner world. Stand firm in your assumption that the tide has turned. Stand firm in your belief that things are shifting. Stand firm in your knowing that a big win is on its way now. You have come too far for the story to stop here. All the challenges, all the struggles, all the disappointments, they were not signs of failure, but signs of preparation. The pressure was shaping you into the version of yourself who is ready to hold the blessing. And when the blessing, you are stepping into a season where everything aligns effortlessly, where what once felt distant suddenly becomes obvious, where you look back and say, it was worth every moment of waiting. And in fact, it may seem your breakthrough is not a matter of chance, it's a matter of identity. You were designed for greatness. You were built for abundance. You were chosen for victory, and what is chosen must manifest. The moment you dared to believe in more, the universe responded. A major breakthrough has already been set in motion in the unseen. Long before you witness the change with your physical eyes, the transformation begins in the invisible realm. Every desire, every prayer, every dream you have held in your heart has already initiated a ripple of movement behind the scenes. What you believe, what you imagine, what you expect, these are not empty thoughts. They are creative forces. The moment you decided you wanted more, the moment you aligned your heart with a higher possibility, something in the unseen world responded. Breakthroughs rarely announce themselves at the beginning. They do not shout, they do not display. They develop quietly. Like a seed planted deep beneath the soil, growth happens without proof. There are no immediate signs, no explanations, no obvious validation. But still change is happening. The roots are forming, the foundation is being established. Just because you cannot see it yet does not mean it isn't already on its way to becoming real. Too often people doubt themselves in this invisible stage. They look around and see no evidence, so they assume nothing is working. They look at the same circumstances and think their prayer went unheard. But the unseen world is always a step ahead of the seen. What appears still in your life is actually shifting. What appears delayed is being delivered in perfect timing. What appears silent is quietly speaking favor over you. There are resources right now aligning with your path, resources you do not yet know exist. There are connections being orchestrated, people you haven't met who will be essential to your victory. There are opportunities preparing to intersect your life at the exact moment you are ready. Everything that belongs to you is already forming, already moving, already being arranged in your favor. Your belief is the activation. Every time you choose faith over fear, you lift the path higher. Every time you refuse to settle for what contradicts your desire, you magnetize what aligns with your purpose. Breakthrough does not begin when you see the outcome. It begins when you claim the outcome. It begins in the imagination, in the acceptance, in the inner knowing that what you desire is yours. The unseen is not uncertain. It is secure. It is the truest reality because it is not yet influenced by doubt or delay. The unseen carries pure intention. It carries your future success untouched by fear. That is why you must not give up just because you cannot track the progress. You do not need to see movement to trust that movement is happening. You only need to hold your belief steady long enough for the invisible to become visible. Right now, a major breakthrough is nearing completion in the realm you cannot yet touch. The moment is approaching when it will break through the surface and become undeniable. You will look back at this very season and realize that what you thought was stillness was preparation. What you felt was silence was orchestration. What looked empty was actually full of promise. Your breakthrough isn't waiting to start, it has already been set in motion. And soon, what was once unseen will show up as the greatest blessing of your life. Your inner shift, not outside circumstances, is what attracts the big win. All true change begins within you, not around you. So many people spend their lives trying to force the world to change in their favor, waiting for others to treat them better, waiting for opportunities to appear, waiting for luck to finally choose them. But the outer world does not transform until the inner world does. The moment you change how you see yourself, the moment you rise in your own belief, the moment you align your thoughts and feelings with the life you desire, that is when everything external begins to shift. Your assumptions about yourself are like magnets. If you assume lack, you attract lack. If you assume success, you attract success. Life mirrors what you believe you deserve, and belief is not formed by what you see, but by what you decide to accept as truth on the inside. You can be surrounded by challenges and still carry a victorious identity. You can face temporary setbacks and still feel unstoppable in your spirit. That inner stance is what calls the big win forth. The world you live in today is a reflection of the thoughts and assumptions you held yesterday. So when you want a new outcome, you don't look outward, you look inward. Transformation is not about forcing change, but becoming the version of yourself that naturally attracts it. When you upgrade your self-concept, when you stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles and begin to see yourself as someone who succeeds, everything in your reality must adjust. The inner shift is a declaration. It's the moment you stop asking whether you are capable and start knowing that you are. It is the moment you stop begging for blessings and start embodying the blessed version of yourself. It is the moment you stop waiting for permission and start claiming your destiny. As your internal identity rises, the outer world has no choice but to respond. A big win doesn't arrive because conditions are perfect. It arrives because you are in alignment. You are no longer doubting, hoping, or wishing. You are assuming, expecting, and feeling the end already fulfilled. When you live emotionally in the victory before it arrives physically, the universe confirms your assumption. Even if nothing around you visibly changes today, do not be fooled. The change has already begun inside you. Every doubt you replace with certainty strengthens the foundation for your breakthrough. Every fearful thought you replace with faith accelerates the manifestation. Every grateful feeling you hold, even before the blessing arrives, opens the door wider. Circumstances are followers, not leaders. They follow the direction of your deepest belief. So decide right now that you are not waiting for the win, you are welcoming it. You are not hoping to succeed, you are stepping into success. You are not trying to become worthy, you already are. The shift has already started because you have changed within. And when the inside transforms, the outside has no choice but to rise to match it. Your big win is simply the world catching up to who you have already become. What you assume and accept as truth determines what manifests in your life. Every experience you call reality is shaped by the beliefs you hold most firmly within. You may think reality is something that happens to you, something controlled by luck, circumstance, or the actions of others. But in truth, life is reflecting back to you what you consistently assume to be true about yourself and your world. The invisible assumptions you carry are not harmless thoughts. They are powerful commands directing the course of your life. Your imagination does not create possibilities by chance. It creates the blueprint of your destiny. When you accept a thought as truth, you give it permission to appear in physical form. If you assume you are always overlooked, life will bring situations where you are unseen. If you assume that money is hard to come by, life will continue to tighten your financial circumstances. If you assume that love is out of reach, relationships will always feel like a losing battle. These assumptions become the structure of your existence. But here is the liberating truth. If your assumptions create your reality, then you are not stuck. You are powerful. The moment you choose to assume differently, reality must shift to mirror your new belief. When you decide, truly decide, that you are chosen, worthy, abundant, capable, and destined for more, the universe begins to transform to match that decision. A new assumption is not just a thought, it is a new identity. Change does not come from forcing the world to behave differently. It comes from changing what you believe is true for you. You must believe in the desired outcome so deeply that it feels natural, inevitable, unquestionable. When you accept success as your truth, opportunities emerge that once seemed impossible. When you accept healing as your truth, your body and circumstances begin to realign. When you accept love as your truth, relationships take on a new frequency. Every assumption carries a feeling, and that feeling is what manifests. You cannot say that you believe in abundance while feeling fear and lack inside. You cannot say that you will win while expecting disappointment. Your emotional acceptance is the signal that calls your desire into form. What you assume must be felt as done, as certain, as part of who you are now. Often, people sabotage their own manifestations by returning to their old assumptions too quickly. They plant the seed of a new belief, but when they don't see immediate evidence, they dig it up with doubt. You cannot demand proof and hold faith at the same time. You must persist in the assumption even when nothing seems to be happening, because something is happening. In the unseen, in the foundations of reality, in the energetic structure of your future. Your outer world is always behind your inner world. What you assume today will be what you live tomorrow. So choose your assumptions with intention. Accept the truth that empowers you, not the one that limits you. Claim a narrative that honors your dreams, not one that contradicts them. Once you accept the highest version of yourself as your truth, life will rise to meet that truth. Manifestation is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of what you choose to assume as real. The delay is not denial. It's preparation of the perfect outcome. when the things you desire don't arrive on your preferred timeline, it's easy to believe something has gone wrong. You start to worry that maybe the dream wasn't meant for you, that perhaps you misheard your calling, or that life is ignoring your belief. But what feels like delay is often strategic alignment. What seems like waiting is really shaping. What looks like silence is actually orchestration. There is a divine order working behind every scene of your life. The universe does not rush because it does not fear lack. It operates with perfect timing, placing every piece exactly where it needs to be. Sometimes you are ready for the blessing, but the blessing is not yet ready for you. Other times the blessing is ready, but you still need to grow into the version of yourself who can sustain it. Big wins require big capacity, and capacity is built in the waiting. Delay is the space where preparation happens. It is where strength is shaped, where clarity deepens, where character is refined. You are gaining the wisdom, discipline, and emotional stability that will allow you to hold your blessing without losing yourself. You are learning what you need to release so you can receive what is better. You are uncovering a stronger identity so that when the breakthrough arrives, you will be able to maintain it, protect it, and expand it. If everything you asked for showed up instantly, you might not value it, understand it, or even recognize it. The waiting teaches appreciation. It reveals what is truly important. It filters out the distractions that once pulled you away from your purpose. You are not simply waiting for the future. The future is being sculpted around you. Think of a seed underground. Nothing appears to be happening. No growth is visible. The surface looks unchanged. But under the soil, roots are anchoring deep, preparing to burst through the ground with life. If someone judged that moment too soon, they might assume the seed had failed. But the delay is not failure. It is the very foundation of success. So when you feel stuck, do not confuse delayed timing with denied destiny. Life has a way of protecting you from less than you deserve. It removes what is too small. It redirects you from what would have harmed you. It pauses what would have arrived prematurely. The delay is a gift, a sign that something greater and more aligned is being prepared. Hold faith during the unseen process. Keep your vision active. Celebrate what is coming even before it arrives. Trust that when the right moment comes, things will happen faster than you can imagine. Doors will open that once seemed unmovable. Opportunities will appear effortlessly. What took months or years to prepare will manifest in a single moment of breakthrough. You are not being forgotten, you are being formed. You are not being denied, you are being delivered into the perfect alignment for your blessing. When everything comes together, you will look back and understand. The delay was not holding you back, it was setting you up for the greatest outcome of your life. Your belief is the invitation that summons your blessing. Nothing enters your life uninvited. Every good thing you desire is searching for a doorway, and that doorway is your belief. Belief is not merely optimism or wishful thinking, it is the inner conviction that what you desire is already yours. It is the mental and emotional acceptance of a reality not yet visible. When you believe with certainty, you are not hoping something will happen, you are acknowledging that it cannot fail to happen. Belief sends a clear signal to the universe, a declaration that you are ready to receive. It lifts you out of the energy of waiting and places you into the frequency of having. Many people ask for blessings, but deep down they doubt whether those blessings could ever arrive for them. That doubt acts like a closed door. Even though they desire more, their disbelief sends the message that they are not yet prepared to accept it. Blessings respond to expectation. When you believe, you align yourself with solutions, opportunities, connections, and breakthroughs that already exist for you in potential form. You become a magnet to the very things you have prayed for. Life does not withhold anything from you, but you can block your own good by refusing to believe in its possibility. Belief is power. It transforms the unseen into the seen. It converts spiritual promise into physical experience. When you choose to believe in a higher outcome, even when circumstances appear stagnant or challenging, you activate forces beyond the physical, forces that begin to move people, events, and timing in your favor. There is a reason. Success often begins long before success is visible. It begins the moment you see yourself differently, the moment you decide that your future does not depend on past limitations, the moment you stop questioning your worthiness. That is when the blessing receives its invitation. Belief opens the door. Belief says, "Come forward, for I am ready." Belief removes the barriers that once seemed immovable. It silences the voices of fear and doubt that try to convince you to shrink back. It allows the impossible to become logical, the unexpected to become natural. And belief must be persistent. It must continue even when nothing has changed yet in your outer world. When you hold on to belief in the silence, in the waiting, in the uncertainty, that is when your invitation becomes irresistible. You are proving that you trust the blessing is real even before you can hold it. And when you believe like that, the universe rushes to meet your certainty. Blessings arrive where belief lives. They gravitate to faith-filled imaginations, to hearts that already feel the success, to minds that already see the victory. Belief is not something you apply after the miracle. Belief is what births the miracle. Right now, every desire in your heart is waiting to be welcomed. Your blessing is not far. It is at the door. So stand in your belief. Claim the outcome. Expect the breakthrough. Because the moment you truly believe, you have already summoned the blessing into your life. Life from the feeling of the victory that is already yours. The greatest secret to manifesting what you desire is to emotionally step into the outcome before it becomes physical. Most people wait to celebrate until the success appears, but the ones who transform their lives live from the celebration before the evidence arrives. When you feel victorious now, reality must rearrange itself to match that inner state. You are not pretending, you are aligning with the truth that already exists in the unseen. Every accomplishment begins first as a feeling of certainty, of joy, of relief, of fulfillment. When you embody those emotions ahead of time, you send a powerful message to the universe. The outcome has already happened. By living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you eliminate doubt, fear, and hesitation. You raise your identity to the level of your desire. You stop asking, "When will it come?" and start declaring, "It is already mine." The feeling of victory is not just excitement, it is grounded assurance. It is the deep knowing that no matter what the physical world shows right now, the end result is guaranteed. It is the inner voice confidently saying, "I have won, I am chosen. I am living the reality that once lived only in my imagination." When you anchor yourself in that state of mind, the universe responds because emotion is the energetic signature of creation. Think about how you would live if the blessing had already arrived. How would you walk? How would you speak? What decisions would you make? How would you treat yourself? What standards would you hold? Step into that version of yourself now. If you are waiting for the outer world to change before you feel victorious, you are operating backwards. The feeling comes first, the change follows. This emotional alignment is not a game of fantasy. It is the most practical action you can take. When you feel abundance, you naturally behave in ways that attract more. When you feel confident, you show up with strength and clarity. When you feel loved, you become a magnet for deeper, more meaningful relationships. Your actions evolve to match the identity of someone who already has the victory, and life responds in kind. There will be moments when doubt tries to return, when circumstances tempt you to lower your vision back to what you see. In those moments, remind yourself the physical is always the last to show what is already true in the spirit. Refuse to let temporary illusions dictate your permanent promise. Choose the feeling of fulfillment again and again, even in silence, even in waiting, even when the results haven't surfaced. You are not hoping for victory, you are remembering it. You are not wishing for the outcome, you are stepping into what you already secured through belief. When you persist in the feeling of the end must show itself. Victory is not a distant event, it is your current identity. You are living from the triumph that has already been written in your favor. The world is simply catching up to who you have already become. Everything you have been believing for, everything you have been preparing for, everything you have been holding in faith is already making its way into your reality. The shift has begun. You are no longer waiting for the big win, you are aligning with it. You are no longer hoping for breakthrough. You are living from the truth that breakthrough is guaranteed. The unseen has already moved in your favor, and soon the visible world will reveal what has been unfolding silently all along. Continue to stand in your belief. Continue to speak from victory. Continue to walk as the person who has already received every blessing destined for them. Your story is transforming. Your life is rising. Your win is approaching quickly, and nothing can stop it. What belongs to you is coming with certainty, acceleration, and divine timing. Thank you for listening, and thank you for believing in the greatness that is already yours. The best chapter of your life is now beginning. You stand today not as someone trying to win, but as someone awakening to a victory that has already been written into your being. The triumph you seek is not ahead of you, it is within you, complete, finished, sealed. Your work now is not to earn it, fight for it, or chase it. Your work is to realize it, to feel it, to embody it, until the outer world has no choice but to bow to the truth you carry. Everything you desire already exists in its completed form. The version of you who has the breakthrough, the healing, the abundance, the love, the success, that version is not a dream. It is already alive in your imagination, waiting for your acceptance. The moment you feel yourself to be victorious, the moment you claim the state of fulfillment, creation is complete. The world simply moves to catch up with what you have already claimed internally. Every outer event in your life is a mirror reflecting the state you occupy within. If the mirror shows lack or limitation, do not argue with the reflection. Change the inner state, and the reflection must change. Set your attention on the version of you who already possesses the victory. Live from that state. Think from that state. Move, breathe, and feel from that state, and watch the world reshape itself. When circumstances appear to contradict your desire, understand that they are merely the fading echoes of an old assumption. They are not prophecy, they are residue. Every old condition must dissolve as you persist in your new identity. Do not be discouraged by delay. Delay is simply the period in which the unseen becomes arranged, aligned, and prepared for its emergence into the visible world. Your imagination is the birthplace of every future event. Your feelings are the substance that gives it life. When you assume the victory, when you claim yourself as the one who has already received, you activate the invisible currents that shape destiny. Life begins to move in ways you cannot predict. Opportunities appear, doors open, people shift, paths clear. Because reality must honor the state you occupy. Do not question how it will happen. Do not analyze the mechanics. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that governs all creation. Your only responsibility is to dwell in the end, to feel the victory as though it is already yours. When you accept the fulfillment emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, the bridge of events begins to form beneath your feet. You will be guided effortlessly from where you stand to where you have already arrived, inwardly. This is the great secret. Victory is not created, it is recognized. You awaken to it, you align with it, you embody it. And then it breaks into visibility as naturally as sunrise breaks the darkness. So today, step into the knowing that you already have the victory. It is not becoming yours, you are becoming aware of it. The transformation is not in the world, it is in you. And as you shift, the world must shift with you. Hold your head high. Walk as the one who already possesses the blessing. Speak as the one whose prayer is already answered. Feel as the one whose manifestation is guaranteed. Because the truth is simple, profound, and unstoppable. You already have the victory. And now, it's becoming reality. Victory begins in the invisible chambers of your inner world long before it takes shape in the physical. Everything you will ever achieve, experience, or encounter must first be conceived and accepted within your imagination. This is the great secret behind all creation. Nothing enters your life unless you have first allowed it entry in the unseen realm. Your imagination is not a place of fantasy. It is the workshop where your future is forged. When you accept a state inwardly, when you feel it, embody it, and identify with it, you give life to the blueprint from which your reality must build itself. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest who you are within. This is why inner victory is the true starting point. If you attempt to change your outer life while remaining defeated internally, nothing shifts. You will continue to attract circumstances that reflect the state you occupy. But the moment you dare to accept victory within your imagination, even when evidence seems absent, you set in motion a process that is far more powerful than effort, struggle, or willpower. Imagination is the womb of miracles, and acceptance is the spark that brings them into form. The world you see around you is a projection of the world you carry within. Every accomplishment, every breakthrough, every blessing first appeared as a thought, a feeling, a knowing. When you claim victory within yourself, when you confidently assume that the result you desire is already yours, the outer world begins to shift. People you have never met, circumstances you could never predict, and events you could not orchestrate start aligning themselves to match the state you have accepted. This is not magic, it is law. The inner state always determines the outer expression. Notice how life responds when you shift your inner focus. When you mentally step into the identity of someone who has succeeded, your actions naturally follow. You speak differently, make different choices, walk with greater assurance, and treat yourself with higher respect. This inner alignment produces outer opportunities, and those opportunities become visible proof of the state you have internalized. Victory is not something you fight to achieve. It is something you allow yourself to receive by first accepting it as your internal truth. Many people wait for evidence before they believe, but the evidence only appears after belief is established. To insist on seeing results before accepting them is like demanding a reflection appear in the mirror before standing in front of it. The outer world is your mirror, and imagination is your position before it. When you accept victory inwardly, when you feel the joy, relief, confidence, and gratitude of already having what you desire, your reflection must eventually show the same. There is no power outside of you that can override the state you continually accept within yourself. When you make your imagination your sanctuary and choose to dwell in the end result with unwavering faith, you activate the creative power that shapes all things. Victory exists first within. Once accepted, the world reorganizes itself, situations rearrange themselves, and pathways open until the invisible becomes visible. Your internal acceptance is the birthplace of every external triumph. Your inner knowing is the silent architect behind every outcome you experience. Long before anything becomes visible, it takes shape in the realm of your assumptions, your beliefs, and the quiet certainty you hold within yourself. Life is not responding to your wishes, it is responding to the conviction you carry in the depths of your being. The moment you feel something as done, not hoped for, not desired, but done, you impress that state upon your subconscious, and creation is set into motion. This inner acceptance becomes the blueprint, the pattern, and the design that the outer world must eventually mirror. Feeling something as done is more than positive thinking or affirmations. It is a shift in identity. It is you stepping into the state of the person who already has what they desire. It is a change in how you see yourself, how you interpret circumstances, and how you respond to life. This inner shift becomes the signal that the universe reads. When your conviction becomes unwavering, events, people, opportunities, and even seeming coincidences begin aligning themselves around your assumption. Life rearranges itself, not according to what is happening on the outside, but according to what you have claimed on the inside. There is a profound difference between hoping and knowing. Hope leaves room for doubt. Knowing leaves no space for contradiction. When you know something inwardly, when you feel it as certain and complete, that knowing generates a calm confidence that radiates through everything you do. You speak differently, your posture changes, your choices elevate, you stop chasing and begin attracting. You stop questioning and start trusting. This internal alignment becomes the magnet that draws the outer world into harmony with your inner reality. Every manifestation begins with this internal certainty. When you claim the end result emotionally and spiritually, you start to see signs that confirm it. Not because the signs cause the manifestation, but because your state of knowing allows you to recognize the unfolding that was already set in motion the moment you accepted the fulfillment within. The world can only present conditions that are in harmony with the blueprint you carry. If your inner knowing is one of lack or limitation, the world will reflect that. But if your knowing is rooted in abundance, success, love, or healing, then your life must outpicture those qualities. There is no power in effort if inner conviction is absent. But the smallest action taken from a state of knowing becomes powerful and aligned. Life rushes to support the version of you that you have claimed yourself to be. Doors open effortlessly. The right people appear. Obstacles dissolve. Paths clear. This is not luck. It is the effect of holding a steady, unwavering inner blueprint. Your inner conviction is not influenced by circumstances. Circumstances are influenced by your conviction. When you feel it as done, when you embody the certainty of your desired outcome, you activate the laws of creation that govern all things. Life begins, rearranging itself with precision, intelligence, and perfection to honor the inner blueprint you have accepted. The outer world is simply responding to the truth you have claimed within. Circumstances are nothing more than shadows cast by the inner state you inhabit. They may appear solid, intimidating, or immovable, but in truth they have no independent power. They are reflections, echoes of the assumptions, beliefs, and feelings you consistently hold within yourself. What you see around you at any moment is not a prophecy of your future, nor is it the truth of your destiny. It is simply the result of the state you have been dwelling in. And just as a shadow cannot resist the light that transforms it, circumstances cannot withstand a shift in your inner consciousness. The great mistake many people make is believing that circumstances are the cause of their emotional state. They look at their finances, their relationships, their health, or their current setbacks and assume these conditions dictate what is possible for them. But outer conditions do not dictate your destiny. They reveal the state you have been living from. If you change that inner state, the outer world must eventually change with it. It has no choice. It is bound to follow the inner pattern, just as a mirror must reflect the face standing before it. When you recognize that circumstances are shadows, you stop fighting them. You stop reacting to them with fear, anxiety, or frustration. Instead, you look within and ask, what state am I occupying that is being reflected back to me? This question reclaims your power. It shifts your attention away from the illusion of limitation and returns it to the source of all change, your inner world. If you dwell in lack, you see lack. If you dwell in fear, you encounter fear. But when you dwell in abundance, confidence, love, or victory, the world reorganizes itself to mirror those qualities. Shadows cannot stop you because they are not the truth. They are temporary expressions of old assumptions that are dissolving the moment you choose a new state. Even when circumstances appear stubborn or overwhelming, they are simply the final remnants of a previous inner pattern. They are not evidence of failure. They are evidence that you are transitioning from one state to another. They are the fading ripples of an old belief system losing its power. Your destiny is not written by the conditions around you. It is written by the identity you choose to claim. The inner state you dwell in is the author of your future. When you embody the feeling of success, even when outer conditions contradict it, you are planting the seeds of a new reality. And just as seeds take time to break through the soil, your new state may take time to appear outwardly, but it will appear. Persistence in your chosen state guarantees it. Do not allow circumstances to convince you that you are limited. They are not barriers, they are mirrors. They only show you who you have been, not who you are becoming. When you shift your inner dwelling place, When you assume the identity of the person who already has the blessing, the shadows must realign, they must reshape, they must obey. The outer world cannot resist the power of a transformed inner state. Your destiny lies not in circumstances, but in the state you choose to inhabit right now. To assume the end is to step into the state of the wish fulfilled with such conviction, clarity, and emotional certainty that the outcome becomes real to you long before it becomes visible to anyone else. It means you deliberately occupy the feeling of already having what you desire, regardless of what your senses report. This is not imagination as a distraction, it is imagination as creation. When you assume the end, you shift your identity, your focus, and your emotional frequency to match the reality you seek. And once that inner shift occurs, the outer world must eventually conform. The unseen becomes seen through persistence. A single moment of imagining may inspire you, but it is sustained inner alignment that brings your desire into form. Every time you return to the feeling of fulfillment, every time you dwell in the state of having rather than wanting, you impress this assumption deeper into your subconscious mind. It becomes the dominant pattern, the inner blueprint from which reality is shaped. This repeated acceptance gives substance to the invisible, until what was once merely imagined begins to crystallize in the physical world. Crystallization is the natural consequence of inner certainty. Just as water vapor becomes rain when enough pressure builds, your inner feeling solidifies into physical experience when your conviction becomes stronger than your doubt. The unseen is not intangible, it simply awaits your persistence. Your thoughts, emotions, and assumptions gather power every time you revisit them. With consistent alignment, they condense into events, opportunities, and encounters that reflect the state you have claimed. Persistence is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is not effort, struggle, or force. It is simply the willingness to return again and again to the end result, to keep your mental attention anchored in the fulfillment rather than the lack. You persist by feeling the joy, peace, gratitude, or confidence of already having what you desire. These emotions are creative forces. They prepare your inner world to receive, and in doing so, instruct the outer world on what to deliver. Obstacles may arise, but they are not signs of failure. They are signs of restructuring. Old assumptions surface because they are being replaced. Circumstances may seem to resist your desire because they are remnants of past states dissolving. This is why persistence is essential, not to overpower the world, but to outlast the illusions that once governed it. When you remain loyal to the end, everything that contradicts it must eventually fall away. The moment you assume the end, creation is finished. What follows is the unfolding, the gradual crystallization of your inner acceptance into tangible experiences. Just as a seed germinates in darkness before breaking through the soil, your manifestation takes shape in the unseen before it becomes visible. Trust this process. Continue to dwell in the state of fulfillment. Treat your desire as already accomplished, and let your feelings testify to its reality. As you persist, the invisible will inevitably harden into the visible. What you have claimed within will step forward into your world, precise and undeniable. The unseen is always waiting to crystallize. It only asks for your unwavering assumption of the end. Delay is one of the most misunderstood parts of the manifestation process. Many people interpret delay as denial, as if the absence of immediate results means the desire is not coming or was never meant for them. But delay is not a dismissal of your blessing. It is the period of formation, the sacred interval in which the invisible aligns itself with your inner state. The victory is already yours in consciousness the moment you accept it. What you call waiting is simply life arranging the perfect conditions for its appearance. Creation is complete the instant you assume the state of the wish fulfilled. But the outer world operates in time. Time is not an obstacle, it is the servant that ensures the invisible becomes visible in an orderly, precise, and harmonious way. If everything you imagine materialized instantly, your life would collapse into chaos. Time provides structure. It allows events to unfold in their proper sequence, relationships to form, opportunities to mature, and environments to prepare for what you have accepted internally. The delay you experience is not a block. It is the unfolding of a bridge of incidents that leads you from where you are to where you have already arrived inwardly. Think of delay as gestation. Just as a seed planted in the soil does not sprout the moment it is buried, your desires need time to germinate beneath the surface of your awareness. You cannot dig up the seed every day to check if it is growing, and you cannot doubt its ability to produce a harvest simply because the ground looks unchanged. The seed is working, forming, strengthening, preparing. So too is your desire taking shape in the unseen. The conditions you need are aligning. The right people are being positioned. The right circumstances are being constructed. What seems like stillness is actually movement at a level you cannot yet see. When you understand that delay is formation, your anxiety dissolves. You stop questioning whether the manifestation is coming. You stop looking for signs with desperation. Instead, you rest in the knowing that it is done, and that time is simply orchestrating its appearance. This inner calm accelerates the process because doubt no longer interrupts the formation. Fear no longer destabilizes the state you have accepted. You remain aligned, steady, and faithful, allowing the unseen to unfold without interference. The moment you assume your victory, it becomes a spiritual fact. Time then obeys that fact. It begins reshaping the world around you so that the invisible truth can step into visibility. There is no randomness in this process. The delay is purposeful. It is intelligent. It ensures that what belongs to you arrives in a way that sustains you, supports you, and elevates you. Nothing meant for you is ever denied. It simply arrives at the moment when the path is clear and the conditions are ready. When you trust that delay is formation, not denial, you become unshakable. You walk as someone who already has the blessing. You speak from fulfillment, not from longing. You live in gratitude, not in doubt. And in that state of inner certainty, time delivers what you have already claimed within. The victory is yours. Time is only doing its appointed work of carrying it into form. Your faith is the silent authority that shapes your world. It is not loud, forceful, or dramatic, yet it carries more creative power than any amount of physical effort. The outer world does not respond to your struggle, your worry, or your attempts to force outcomes into place. It responds to the quiet, unshakable conviction you hold within yourself. When you decide inwardly that something is yours, when you feel it with certainty and align your identity with it, you grant creation the only permission it needs to bring that desire into form. Faith is not hoping, wishing, or begging. Faith is knowing. It is the inner stance that says, This is already mine, even when outer conditions seem to contradict it. It is the confidence that allows you to move through life without anxiously searching for evidence, because the evidence is already established within your imagination. Faith replaces effort because it operates at the level where all things are created. To struggle attempts to manipulate the shadows. Faith transforms the source. When you hold a state of inner certainty, your actions, your energy, and your decisions naturally align with that state. You begin to take inspired steps instead of desperate ones. You move with clarity rather than confusion. You attract solutions instead of chasing them. This alignment opens paths that were previously hidden and dissolves barriers that once seemed immovable. The world is always responding to who you believe yourself to be, not who you are trying to be externally, but who you are convinced you are internally. Most people exhaust themselves trying to change the world from the outside in. They work harder, push harder, and worry more, thinking that struggle will produce results. But struggle is a sign of inner doubt. It is effort born from disbelief. And because the outer world mirrors your inner state, struggle tends to produce more struggle. Faith, on the other hand, is effortless because it comes from assurance. When you know something is already yours, you relax, you release tension, you stop forcing, you allow life to move through you with flow rather than friction. Faith is permission because it signals to the deeper creative power within you that you are ready to receive. It is the inner agreement that opens the channel between the unseen and the seen. Once you accept something emotionally and spiritually, the physical world must reorganize itself to reflect that acceptance. This is not philosophy, it is law. The world cannot produce anything that contradicts your dominant inner conviction. Your certainty becomes the instruction. Your belief becomes the blueprint. Your faith becomes the command that shapes the unfolding of events. When you detach from fear and fully assume the state of the fulfilled desire, you no longer chase outcomes, you attract them. You no longer try to control life. You cooperate with the deeper intelligence that is always working in your favor. Nothing outside of you determines what is possible. No circumstance, no limitation, no setback, no delay has the power to override the authority of your faith. The world is simply a mirror reflecting your inner state. When your inner certainty becomes unshakable, the world is compelled to rearrange itself to match it. Your faith is the only permission needed. The moment you believe, creation begins. In the end, everything you seek begins within you. Victory is not something you chase, it is something you awaken to. The moment you claim your desire internally, the moment you step into the feeling of the end, creation is set in motion. Circumstances shift, paths open, time aligns, and life moves with precision to reflect the state you have accepted. What was once invisible begins to crystallize. What felt distant becomes inevitable. Your imagination becomes the birthplace of every breakthrough, and your faith becomes the force that brings it into visibility. So walk with the quiet confidence of someone who already possesses the blessing. Live from the truth that the victory is already yours. Let your inner knowing guide you, let your persistence anchor you, and let your faith elevate you above every shadow of circumstance. When you dwell in the end, life must honor your assumption. Thank you for listening, and thank you for stepping into the power of your own inner victory. God is already working behind the scenes in ways far greater than your current senses can comprehend. The moment you dared to believe that something better was possible, the entire universe began shifting itself to match the truth you claimed within. Your desire was never random. It was a whisper from the divine, a message that something magnificent was already prepared for you, waiting only for your inner consent. What you feel as longing is actually a spiritual announcement that what you seek is seeking you. Every great movement of God begins in silence, in the unseen, long before it ever reaches the outer world. Too many look for evidence in physical reality, forgetting that the physical is always the final manifestation, never the origin. Your feelings, your assumptions, your inner conversations, these are the sacred tools through which God moves. If you can hold the end in your mind with calm conviction, the outer world will bow to that inner certainty. The big things you're waiting for are not outside of you. They are unfolding because of you. Develop a personal mindset. When nothing seems to be happening, that is often when the greatest work is taking place. The seed does not show its growth while in the soil. The roots form long before the fruit appears. This is the exact process occurring in your life right now. What feels like stillness is actually divine rearrangement. People are being positioned, doors are being aligned, circumstances are being reconfigured. What once felt impossible is quietly becoming inevitable. Your faith is not meant to be a reaction to what you see. It is meant to be the cause of what you will soon see. When you persist in the assumption that things are moving in your favor, you make it unavoidable for life to reflect that truth back to you. Even when the outer world contradicts your belief, even when everything appears unchanged, remain loyal to the inner picture. That inner loyalty is what moves the heavens. That inner conviction is what makes God remove barriers, shift timelines, and alter outcomes on your behalf. Do not measure your progress by what the senses reveal. Your senses can only show you what has already been formed, not what is forming. The unseen is where the miracle starts. Every answered prayer begins as a quiet inner knowing, a subtle feeling that something has already shifted. When you feel that inner completion, the outer world has no choice but to follow. So keep believing, keep knowing, keep seeing the end in your mind as already fulfilled. God is moving big things, things beyond your imagination, things that will make you wonder how it all came together so perfectly. Your only job is to remain faithful to the vision, to the feeling, to the inner victory. Everything else is being taken care of for you. Your miracle is not approaching, it is unfolding. Your blessing is not on its way, it is being arranged. And the moment you fully accept this truth within, the world will reshape itself to prove you right. Keep believing, because the divine shift has already begun in your favor. What you assume as true becomes the very channel through which God moves, shaping your reality with a precision that mirrors the state of your inner conviction. Every assumption is a seed planted in the invisible, and like any seed, it grows according to its nature. When you hold an assumption with feeling, with acceptance, with a quiet certainty that it already belongs to you, you open a spiritual pathway that allows the divine to work effortlessly on your behalf. You are never waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to take a stand in your inner world. The assumption you choose, whether of abundance, love, healing, success, or breakthrough becomes the mold into which God pours the events, circumstances, and opportunities that align with it. Many believe that external conditions determine their fate, but in truth, it is the inner acceptance that dictates what follows. Every transformation begins by claiming a new identity inwardly. When you assume that you are already the person who has received their desire, you shift from hoping to knowing, from wishing to possessing. And this inner shift is the true signal. This is the language God responds to. Not fear, not doubt, not desperation, but the quiet confidence that the end is already secured. Your assumption becomes the bridge between the invisible and the visible, and once it is firmly held, the outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match it. Assumptions are powerful because they bypass willpower and effort. They work in silence, they work in the background, they influence every thought you think, every action you take, every decision you make, and every opportunity that flows toward you. When you assume the best, you tune yourself to the frequency where divine movement becomes natural and effortless. You stop chasing and begin attracting. You stop forcing and begin allowing. You stop pleading with God and begin aligning with Him. For God does not respond to frantic effort. He responds to faith-filled acceptance. And acceptance is nothing more than the assumption that what you desire has already been given. The moment you choose a new assumption, the unseen begins to shift. People start showing up, conversations unfold, coincidences align, and doors open that you didn't even know existed. This is not random. It is the divine acting through the channel you created. God needs your cooperation, but not in the form of struggle or strain. He needs your alignment. He needs your inner consent. And that consent is given through the assumption that it is already done. As you persist in that state. No matter what the senses report, you strengthen the channel and make the outcome inevitable. Your assumption is the cause, your experience is the effect. Whatever you hold as true, even if only in imagination, will eventually harden into fact. God moves through your belief, your acceptance, your inner reality. So choose your assumptions with intention. Choose the ones that honor your worth, your potential, your purpose. For the moment you assume the truth of your desire, you invite God to move in ways that elevate, transform, and bless every area of your life. Your inner acceptance is the signal that activates divine rearrangement, the quiet permission you give to life for the unseen to become seen. Nothing in the outer world can change until it is first accepted within. Every desire, every longing, every vision you carry begins as a subtle thought, a feeling, a conviction that has yet to find its form in the material world. When you fully accept the reality of what you wish for within, you are effectively sending a signal to the universe that it is time for the outer world to catch up. This acceptance is not passive, it is not wishful thinking or blind hope. It is the deliberate acknowledgement that what you seek is already yours, that the circumstances aligning in your favor are already in motion, and that the delay you perceive is simply the unseen work being completed on your behalf. Many people struggle because they seek evidence before they believe. They look to the outer world and say, I cannot see it, so it cannot be true. This is the opposite of the principle at work. The outer world is always a reflection of the inner state. Until you allow yourself to accept what is already yours in consciousness, the world cannot rearrange itself. Inner acceptance is the green light for divine intervention, the signal that allows life to move, shift, and transform in perfect accordance with your desires. The moment you embrace your wish as already fulfilled, you initiate a chain of unseen events that are perfectly synchronized to bring the vision into reality. This is how miracles are orchestrated, silently, invisibly, yet with absolute certainty. Acceptance is not resignation. It is not a surrender to impossibility. It is the confident recognition that the desired outcome exists now in the spiritual realm, and that it is only a matter of time before it manifests materially. By holding this acceptance, you are aligning yourself with the flow of life, creating a resonance that attracts circumstances, people, and opportunities that match the state you have assumed. This inner state communicates to the universe that you are ready, that you are prepared, and that you are in harmony with the end result. Once this signal is sent, life responds in kind. Situations that seemed fixed begin to shift, solutions appear where none existed, and pathways open that you could not have imagined. This is the divine rearrangement in action, the world bending to match the consciousness you have adopted. The beauty of this principle is that it works quietly, without fanfare or struggle. You do not need to force outcomes, manipulate events, or convince others. All that is required is your inner consent, your willingness to believe without seeing. Every time you dwell in the feeling of acceptance, you strengthen the invisible current that shapes your destiny. The circumstances around you may remain unchanged for a while, but within, the rearrangement is already underway. Trust the process, for the unseen always precedes the seen. Your inner acceptance is the signal, the command, and the declaration that makes the outer world bow to the vision you have embraced. When you cultivate this inner state consistently, life has no choice but to respond, and the perfect manifestation of your desire unfolds effortlessly and beautifully. The unseen shifts always come before the visible breakthroughs, for the outer world is never the origin of change. It is merely the reflection of what has already been established within. Before a mountain moves, before a door opens, before a breakthrough becomes apparent, the invisible groundwork is laid. This is the principle that governs every transformation, every answered prayer, and every miracle in life. What you see as delay or inaction is in truth the careful orchestration of forces beyond the senses, aligning, arranging, and preparing circumstances so that when the breakthrough arrives, it arrives fully formed, perfectly timed, and unmistakably yours. Nothing happens randomly, and nothing manifests without first existing in the unseen realm of consciousness. The invisible realm is where belief, feeling, and imagination act as architects, constructing the reality that will eventually appear. Every thought, every inner assumption, every feeling of faith is a signal sent into this unseen domain where divine intelligence responds by shaping outcomes in perfect harmony with your state of mind. When you imagine a reality as already complete, when you dwell in the feeling of having what you desire, you are initiating the unseen shifts that will inevitably lead to the visible manifestation. This is why inner work, mental, emotional, and spiritual alignment is far more powerful than any outward effort. The unseen always precedes the seen, and without it, the breakthrough cannot arrive. Many give up too soon because they mistake the lack of visible evidence for failure. They forget that the unseen is always working, often in ways that are completely imperceptible at the moment. Seeds buried in the soil do not sprout instantly. Roots must form, nutrients must gather, and growth must occur beneath the surface before any green shoot emerges. Similarly, your desires are taking root invisibly, aligning circumstances, attracting people, and orchestrating events in the background. This invisible preparation is not wasted time. It is essential for the breakthrough that appears without sufficient unseen alignment is often incomplete, fleeting, or unstable. True manifestation is born from thorough, unseen work, executed in silence, guided by faith, and sustained by the inner conviction that the desired outcome already exists. To accelerate the manifestation, you must cultivate patience and inner assurance. Focus not on what is visible, but on what is real in the mind and heart. Maintain the feeling of fulfillment, the sense of completion, and the unwavering belief that the breakthrough is already achieved. When you hold this inner state consistently, you strengthen the invisible currents that shape your reality. The universe responds not to your doubts, your fears, or your urgencies, but to the steady, unwavering acceptance of what you wish to see. The unseen shifts, working quietly and purposefully, set the stage for the outer world to bend in accordance with your inner reality. Understand that every visible miracle, every sudden change, and every breakthrough is preceded by unseen movement. The universe is constantly arranging, realigning, and orchestrating to bring the inner state into expression. Your job is to remain aligned, to nurture the belief, to hold the vision, and to trust the invisible process. When you do, the moment arrives when the unseen shifts crystallize into the visible, and your breakthrough appears exactly as it was imagined, perfectly timed and profoundly satisfying. Patience and inner alignment are not just virtues. They are the keys to allowing the unseen to do its divine work before the visible emerges. Your faith is the permission slip that allows big things to form in your favor, the silent declaration that opens the door for divine orchestration to occur on your behalf. Without faith, the universe waits, for it responds not to hesitation, doubt, or uncertainty, but to the unwavering belief that what you desire is already yours. Faith is not a mere hope or wish. It is the inner knowing that the outcome you seek exists now in the spiritual realm and is only waiting for you to align with it in consciousness. When you exercise faith, you are effectively giving the universe the green light to move, rearrange, and manifest circumstances that serve your highest good. It is the key that unlocks unseen doors, the force that mobilizes opportunities, and the signal that what you have imagined is already in motion, waiting to appear. Many people struggle because they look for visible proof before they act or believe. They say, "I will believe when I see it," not realizing that faith is the very mechanism that makes it visible. The outer world cannot precede the inner state. It cannot manifest something that has not already been accepted within. Your faith is therefore not passive. It is the active consent that life requires in order to deliver. It is the declaration that you are ready to receive, ready to embody, and ready to walk into the blessings that are already being prepared for you. Every great achievement, every miracle, every extraordinary shift in life begins with this inner alignment, with the steady, unwavering conviction that the desired outcome exists now, even if the senses cannot yet detect it. Faith also changes the way you move through the world. It aligns your thoughts, words, and actions with the reality you desire, creating a resonance that attracts circumstances and people in harmony with that reality. When you act with faith, you are no longer pushing against life or forcing outcomes. You are allowing life to respond to the state you have assumed. Doors open effortlessly, guidance appears in unexpected ways, and challenges dissolve before they manifest fully, because the energy of faith is shaping the environment around you. It is as if the universe itself responds to the quiet authority of your belief, bending, shifting, and arranging itself to match the inner state you have cultivated. Faith also sustains you during the waiting period. The timing of divine movement is never coincidental. It unfolds when conditions are perfectly aligned for the highest good. During this period, doubt and impatience can undermine your progress, while faith fortifies your position. By maintaining unwavering belief, you keep the channel open for miracles, breakthroughs, and abundance to flow effortlessly toward you. It is faith that transforms delay into preparation, obstacles into opportunities, and uncertainty into a fertile ground for manifestation. Faith is the permission slip you give to life, a declaration that you are ready, deserving, and aligned with the outcome you seek. It signals the universe that you are prepared to receive, and in response, big things begin to form in your favor. Faith is the silent, powerful command that sets the divine machinery in motion, ensuring that everything is arranged perfectly, invisibly, and inevitably until your desired reality appears in its full, magnificent expression. But delay is never denial. It is the preparation of circumstances aligning perfectly for you, the unseen orchestration that sets the stage for your desires to manifest in the most complete and powerful way. Many misunderstand delay as a sign that their dreams will never come true, that life is against them, or that the universe has forgotten them. In truth, delay is the silent work happening behind the scenes, where the unseen forces of life are arranging everything in precise order. What appears as waiting is in reality divine timing at work, ensuring that when your breakthrough occurs, it arrives fully formed, stable, and in perfect alignment with your highest good. Every delay is purposeful, designed not to frustrate you, but to prepare the outer world to reflect the inner reality you have claimed. When you desire something deeply, your mind often wants immediate evidence, yet the physical manifestation of your desire cannot leap ahead of the inner state that creates it. The unseen must first move. Conditions must align, circumstances must adjust, opportunities must be placed, and people must come into position. All of this takes time, not because you are being denied, but because life is carefully constructing the environment that will perfectly accommodate your vision. Impatience disrupts this process. Faith sustains it. By remaining aligned with your inner knowing, by holding the vision as already fulfilled, you allow the preparation to unfold without resistance, ensuring that the manifestation is not only inevitable, but effortless and complete. Delay also serves as an opportunity for refinement. During periods of waiting, your beliefs, attitudes, and inner assumptions are tested. Are you willing to remain steadfast in your inner conviction, even when the outer world seems contrary? Are you able to persist in the feeling of fulfillment even when proof is not yet visible? These moments of apparent delay are designed to strengthen your faith, to deepen your alignment, and to perfect the inner state that will ultimately attract the desired outcome. The universe waits for you to reach this alignment because the outer world cannot manifest what your inner consciousness is not fully prepared to accept. Delay is, therefore, not a punishment or a setback. It is a vital part of the creative process. Delay often works in ways that surpass your imagination. While you wait, unseen opportunities, coincidences, and arrangements are taking place that you cannot yet perceive. People, resources, and circumstances are being subtly guided into position so that when the time is right, your desire emerges fully supported, leaving no gaps, no struggles, and no compromise. What might have manifested prematurely could have been incomplete or temporary, but the deliberate timing ensures that the manifestation is perfect, lasting, and aligned with your highest good. To navigate delay successfully, trust the process, remain faithful, and continue to dwell in the feeling of the fulfilled desire. Understand that the unseen is always working, even when the senses report nothing. Delay is the universe's preparation, the careful alignment of every element necessary for your success. When the manifestation finally appears, it will not be partial or forced. It will be complete, harmonious, and exactly as you imagined. Delay is never denial. It is the perfect, invisible preparation that ensures life moves in your favor with precision, power, and grace. When you stay loyal to the end result, God moves mountains to meet you there. Loyalty to the end result is the unwavering inner commitment to the reality you desire. The steadfast refusal to let temporary appearances, obstacles, or doubts shake the certainty that what you have imagined is already accomplished. It is not enough to wish, hope, or even feel inspired occasionally. True manifestation requires consistent fidelity to the vision, a dedication that outlasts setbacks, delays, and the seeming contradictions of the outer world. When you remain loyal in this way, you are no longer a passive observer of life. You become an active participant in the orchestration of your reality. The universe cannot help but respond, for loyalty is the signal that activates divine cooperation, the magnetic force that draws circumstances, people, and opportunities into perfect alignment with your inner state. Loyalty to the end result begins within. It is a decision to dwell in the feeling of the fulfilled desire, to imagine the outcome vividly, and to accept it as fact, regardless of what the senses report. The outer world is rarely the proof of fulfillment. It is the effect of what has been established internally. Mountains of doubt, opposition, or difficulty may appear, yet they are powerless against the steadfastness of inner loyalty. Each moment that you resist the temptation to waver, to doubt, or to surrender, you are strengthening the invisible current that carries your desire into manifestation. This inner constancy is what separates fleeting wishes from real, tangible outcomes. The universe responds not to the intensity of effort, but to the persistence of faith, the loyalty to the vision that refuses to yield under pressure. When you stay loyal to the end result, life begins to conspire on your behalf. Doors open where they seemed locked. Resources appear where scarcity was evident, and solutions present themselves where problems seemed insurmountable. Mountains shift quietly, imperceptibly, yet powerfully, to clear the path for your desire to manifest. This is the divine intelligence at work, responding to the signal of your unwavering loyalty. It is not about forcing circumstances or controlling outcomes. It is about maintaining your inner state, allowing the outer world to align itself with the reality you have embraced. The greater your loyalty, the more extraordinary the response. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable because you have refused to let temporary appearances dictate your conviction. Loyalty also strengthens your resilience. Life's challenges will test the firmness of your belief, but each trial is an opportunity to deepen your fidelity to the end result. As long as you remain aligned, holding the feeling of fulfillment, the universe continues to orchestrate conditions in your favor. Mountains do not resist forever, they move for those who do not move from their inner certainty. Your role is to remain steadfast, to imagine, to feel, and to accept, while life arranges the circumstances to support your vision. Staying loyal to the end result is the key that unlocks extraordinary manifestations. It is the inner authority that commands the outer world, the unwavering faith that compels divine movement, and the steadfast devotion that ensures every obstacle, delay, and challenge is transformed into a stepping stone toward fulfillment. God moves mountains for those who remain loyal. For loyalty is the signal that your desire is ready to be received, and nothing can stand in the way of a mind and heart fully aligned with its truth.